cool people here on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about a mastermind. How does a mastermind work? What is a mastermind? We're going to actually have a chance for each of us here to talk about our own goals so we could, go from there and show you guys how goal setting's done, show you guys how we go about our goals rather than us just talking about it every week. Let's give you a chance to see how we do it. And then, get your, your mirror neurons and all that stuff firing, and it'll be fun. So let me give a quick introduction to everybody here. We got Anthony Cheam. Anthony Cheam's freaking awesome. I've known him for so long. He's a huge inspiration to me. Anthony, what's up? How you doing? Good. Can't hear me right now? That's okay. We got Frank in the house. Frank, what's up? How you doing? Frank Sagasta, coach himself. What's up?
I'm excellent, man. I'm happy, healthy, and excited.
Yeah, you are. Awesome. And finally, we got Bearj here. Bearj Jehanian, the man himself, and we're gonna let Bearj kick it off actually. To talk a little bit about a mastermind, talk a little bit about his goals. Bearj, take it away, man.
What do you want me to talk about, man? We want to talk about a mastermind first, what that's about, or
I think let's talk a little bit about a mastermind itself. What is it really, and how are we going to run our mastermind for the next half hour to an hour?
Okay, so guys, here's what a mastermind is. It's really simple. This was started by Napoleon Hill. I don't know how many years ago it was, but he was given the job. I have a little bit of a cough, so I apologize if I cough into the mic. I'll do my best not to cough directly into the mic. But he was given the task of finding out what made successful people successful. If there were common elements between all successful people, because if there were, then you could basically simulate those same things, and anyone could be as successful as the most successful people in the world, like the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, and so on. So what they found out was there were I think it's 13 different principles that basically were common for all people who were successful. And he was asked once, can you tell us one thing that people do that makes them successful? What's that one thing? And the answer was masterminding. Successful people mastermind with each other. They all form alliances and masterminds to help each other, which is contrary to what most unsuccessful people do. Most unsuccessful people see the world as scarcity. They believe that if they make money, that someone else is losing money. They believe that if they're happy, that someone else must be then unhappy. They believe whatever they have, there's an equal and opposite reaction to that. But when it comes to success, that simply isn't true. John F. Kennedy said many years ago, and it's my most favorite quote, "A rising tide lifts all ships." And it's so true. And that's what a mastermind is all about. It's all about creating that atmosphere of success. You heard Bren talk about mirror neurons a little bit ago. I'm not going to get into the technical aspect of all of that, but what that really means in simplistic form is if you are around successful people, these things we have in our brain called mirror neurons will cause you to mirror what they do. In fact, it doesn't matter who you're around. If you're around deadbeats, you'll become a deadbeat. If you are around dancers, you'll start to do things that dancers do. If you are around people who spend their lives at bars, then you will spend your life at a bar. If you are around people who love music, you will begin to participate and love music and maybe even become a musician. If you notice, there are a lot of families, you'll see that they all have the same interest. Well, is that just because of the fact that they're related? Or is it because of that mastermind effect, because the family is together all the time and those mirror neurons are firing and they're getting similarities as far as what they like to do and what they're interested in. So it works the same way with a mastermind. When you hang around 5 people who are very successful, you will become the average of those 5 people. One of my mentors, Les Brown, his quote is, if you're hanging around 9 broke people, you are sure to be number 10. That's mirror neurons. I like to turn it around and say, if you hang around 9 successful people, you are sure to be number 10. That is also mirror neurons. So what we're going to do here on Fridays is have a mastermind. And we're all going to talk about one or two things that are challenges to us, something we're trying to accomplish, and then we're going to mastermind about it. And I'm going to go first today, and I'm going to put right out there exactly what I'm working on right now and what I need encouragement for and what I need some direction with, because I actually have some specific questions about this, and I know some of you might be able to answer these questions. So for those of you who are watching, pay careful attention to what it is that we're talking about, the way we go about this, the way we don't judge each other. This is not about judging people. This is about lifting people up and helping people. Imagine if you could go into a room of highly successful people like we have right here, right now, and by being a part of that group, you could be lifted up. They could encourage you, push you, help you, and you could tap their resources to become more successful. You can tap their experiences to become more successful, and that's what this is about. So the thing I'm working on right now is to keep Bren in his seat because he keeps leaving. No, I'm just messing around with that. The thing I'm working on right now is a book. This is the first time I'm ever writing a book. It's the first book I've ever written. I have had in the past some blocks with it because I don't like writing. But I've been telling myself how much I enjoy creating this book, and it's helping me write it more. So I'm at about, I think I'm at about 11,000 words at this point. I'm aiming at 60,000 as the minimum. That's actually what it turns out to be. That I think, if I'm correct, that turns out to be about 120 pages. So 120 to 150 pages would be ideal. I personally don't like reading books longer than that. So to me, that's a great length for a book because I feel like other people would like that length as well instead of having to read a 300-page book. My challenges are, actually my questions, I shouldn't say they're challenges yet. My questions are, and I asked this question in a Facebook group earlier today about getting permission. Is it better to use the names of the people, the actual names of the real people who affected my life in the book? And if I do that, do I need to get a release from them for that? And where do I get releases for those types of things? Or would it be easier and more productive and more comfortable for everyone to just use a different name with the real story so that those folks are not identified? That's the first thing that's a challenge for me. And the next thing is, as far as getting it published and getting someone to, in fact, before publishing it, to get someone to proofread the book. How do I go about that process? Because that's got to be quite an undertaking without exhausting my resources financially to get that done. So they're the two things that's the thing I'm working on, and they're the challenges or the questions that I have along with it.
Okay.
What's the objective of the book?
I'm sorry, what's the subject?
What's the objective of your book? What's the reason of you putting a book out there, first of all?
Great question. Number one is to help people, because I'm using my experiences in life as an example of how we tell ourselves bad things about ourselves and create this wrong self-image. And then the rest of the book is how I correct that and how anyone can correct that using 3-step tools: believe, decide, act. That's the 3 pillars of success that I'm using, and how they can create belief, make a real decision in life, and then take action upon that.
So real self-help book.
4 parts of the book. Yes.
I love
yes.
it.
And it's real life stuff, because it's about things that I've actually happened to me and things I told myself, how I interpreted those things.
So you're putting your tools and your principles in there. That way other people can follow. I love it.
Exactly. That's what the book is about, and it's there to help other people. The other part of the reason I'm writing the book is it'll be a tool for me to help getting speaking gigs and to help monetize my business a little bit more too.
I love it.
Great. To get the rights from the people might be time consuming, which I've got my book coming out very soon, and I've got somebody who's already made it, who's traveling the world, and he's got a lot of work on and is writing the foreword. Just can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Because it's echoing for some reason from here. But yes, it might be time consuming, because just for the foreword of my book, getting somebody who's really successful and busy, their time is very valuable. That might prove to be a challenge.
Right.
But like you said, if you can just turn the story saying, rather than quoting the actual people, and just make it just as a story or an experience that you've actually experienced, that might be quicker depending on your time. And thirdly, regarding publishing, you can self-publish
Right.
via Amazon.
That's what I'm expecting to do.
But this is another challenge as well. You need to get the fonts in the right place. You could be sending them when you're looking at it, one page is higher than the other, and that could be a challenge in itself. But you need to learn that, which will take a little process. The easy way around that, there's two people that I know personally that are helping, three people actually, with publishing books. One is Joe Giletti, two is the Maddox family, and three, I've got somebody in the UK by the name of Laura Herbert, who's just starting out, which financially might be the easy option. It'll be a lot cheaper as well. It's not going to be so expensive.
Is that as far as formatting, or are you talking about proofreading?
That'll be more formatting.
I'm more concerned about the proofreading because I'm pretty tech savvy, and I actually like doing things like that. And I would probably be very fussy about making sure it's done perfectly, and would want to have a more hands-on experience with that. But as far as proofreading, that's the part that I need the most help with, because I'm really bad at proofreading my own stuff.
You can get.
I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. I wouldn't recommend that to proofread it on your own. I just finished my third book, and I actually have an editor and a proofreader. And the guy's he's fantastic, and he does it so meticulously, like to the point where like every sentence, every paragraph, he breaks it down. And I mean, how I did it, again, I wrote my books and I just give it to him, and then we'd have a meeting, and basically what would happen was he'd go over the material with me, and then he'd say, okay, I'm going to rewrite it in a way that basically is in tune with your passion, your purpose, all these things, and the message you're trying to get across. But I'm going to do it in a way where I'm going to break it down with. So my first book, as an example, was close to 180,000 words. He broke it down into like 80,000 words. So he made it much more clear and concise, where the reader wouldn't lose. Yeah, and readable. And it was 110% worth it. And then as for the publishing aspect, I mean, I know a couple of publishers that teach you how to self-publish, and they'll basically publish your book for you. And the one thing that he taught me was you can either go the big route and try and sell it to a big publishing company, which has its advantages, but also has its disadvantages too as well. Because if you give it to one of these big publishing companies, they own your material. Right. But if you self-publish, you have 100% rights of your material. You take it with your speaking engagements. You make money. You know, you can market. And one of the things I found that in my first book, I tell you, it establishes immediate credibility. Immediate. Yeah, totally. You're an author. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. You wrote a book, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, this guy must know what he's talking about." Published author, all these things. So I found anytime I meet speakers and they haven't written a book, I always encourage them, write a book. And
that's why I'm doing it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Going back to you, Anthony, you know, for everybody tuning on, we're talking about, you know, Bearj's his new book coming out, but also the Mastermind. So I want to go back to Anthony and ask you, your first book, for all the viewers that are watching right now, how was it for your first book, writing your first book? And did you find all those tools that Bearj is looking for right now? Did you find all those tools when you first put your book out?
It's funny. I kind of just, it took me about 18 months to write my first book. And I would write a little bit every day. I mean, I like Zig Ziglar's approach. You write a little bit every day, 1 page a day for 365 days. You have a 365-page book, you know, and that idea, that's sort of the idea. And whatever concepts, the whole idea of writer's block and all these things, whatever concepts that I needed to kind of convey in my book, I would meditate on it and say, all right, this is the subject and I go at it. And once I finish my book, and it's funny how the universe actually works. Once I finished my book, I literally sent it out there to all my friends and family, all the people that knew, I just finished my book. I'm looking for a publisher. I don't know what to do, but I kept meditating. I trust my subconscious mind, superconscious mind, God to guide me. Literally the next day, a client of mine contacted me. He goes, I didn't know you were writing a book. I have my own publishing company. Literally the next day, I have all the editors. I have everything you need. Why didn't you come to me? I didn't know you had a publishing company. And it was because of that, and and Bearj, by the way, I can hook you up with the right people if you really need to. I mean, he has published books for, Tim Adams. I'm not sure if you know who Tim Adams is, but he's a world-class strength training coach for all the NFL teams, NHL teams, for a lot of multi-level marketing businesses. He's phenomenal. Anyways, the point is, that's sort of I trust it. I said, I'm here to serve as much as anyone in this mastermind. I'm here to serve. That's my whole goal. I'm here to contribute as much as I can. And when you send that energy out to the universe, it's literally the universe aligns with you. It literally does. And you got to trust it. And it's just, I'm sure us being on this call, the fact that you're talking about this, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to share this with Bearj because I have the perfect person for him. And so writing my first book was tough, but I loved it. As you said, I was never a good writer. I failed grade 12 English. I was a horrible writer. And I'll tell you a quick story quickly. When I first got my first book edited, I was scared because I thought the editor, who was like a college professor and did all these I thought she was going to kill my book. I was scared because I was like, I failed grade 12 English. Oh my gosh, she's going to say my grammar's horrible. She came back to me about a month later. She said, Anthony, I don't know how you failed grade 12 English because this is phenomenal material. And it was, I literally cried because it was indicative of how much I've grown spiritually, physically, mentally. And I was blown away by that. And so, if that helps, if I'm on the right track with what you were asking there, Frank or Bearj, let me help you. I'd love to help you there. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome. Because I mean, my downfall is my impatience. I can write well, but sometimes my impatience prevents me from writing as well as I could. So, yeah. I mean, I've got the whole thing. It's all written out exactly what's going to be in each chapter, the different parts that are in each chapter. And I just pick that up and I refer to it. Okay, here's what's next, because I knew I wouldn't be able to keep it here, but I put it down in about 2 hours, what the whole book was going to be after I thought about it for literally 3 years. How do I want to make this work? I finally put it together, wrote it down in 2 hours. I'm real happy with the format for it. I'm really happy. I sent a paragraph to Bren yesterday because I was just so proud of that one paragraph. I wanted to share it with somebody. And I'm just excited to be going through the process. Like I said, I'm about 11,000 words in. I've never written that many words in one topic ever before, but it's therapeutic. It's everything. Yeah. It's everything. It's exciting. I was at a cafe yesterday and some people asked me what I was doing. And right away they said, well, how do we know when the book's published? We want to buy it. I just,
that's awesome. You send it out there,
there's this author sitting next to them as far as they're concerned. Right.
That's amazing.
Dude, I don't know. I'm just glad I remembered to put on deodorant today.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Well, here's the other thing there, Bearj. In terms of the writing of the book, I was never concerned about, I had this attitude that I don't care if I was on the New York Times bestseller list. No. I was not concerned about that. I was always concerned about this book I'm going to put into someone's hands, and this person's going to go to bed with me as the reader, and their life is going to be changed. I had that feeling that what I had to share was going to impact people's lives. And the second thing too, I want to give you sort of an idea that really kind of solidified this for me. And I was listening to an audio by Rob Bell, and he was talking about how an author, the words are his blood and sweat as he writes it on the paper. They pour themselves out and break themselves down, and the words are their blood and sweat, and their passion and their love for people, for art, for poetry, for guidance and inspiration. All that stuff is being poured out. And that's what an author does. You struggle with the words, you struggle with the material, you struggle with the process. But at the end, when it's fully finished, I imagined me holding my book and me finally getting to the point where I would hand it to somebody and the person said, thank you. And then I imagined 2 years from now, someone came up to me and said, I read your book 2 years ago. Oh my God, and I felt so good about that. I'm like, man, this is what it's all about, right? So I kept thinking that every day, every morning, going to sleep with that thought. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that. You just keep your mind and focus on service, 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 and you pour yourself out and break yourself down. And that's what it's all about.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because in this process of the mastermind, we think about the mastermind as that plan and the direct and how to assist. And what you said right now, focusing on, for anybody that's writing a book, is focusing on those topics and focusing hard on what's at hand. I think a lot, even not just personal, but even in business, a lot of reason why businesses fail is because they lose focus. I mean, that's ultimately what I seen even in the Clemson and Alabama game. I seen some teams I seen the team go out there and they lost focus when they came in the second half, and they lost that game. But I think that's a very key word, man. Staying focused.
Staying focused.
Love it.
Yeah, love it.
Awesome. I'm done, so I'm going to leave because I don't want to help anybody else.
All right, so for anybody who's just tuning in to the show, we're just going through each of us right now and talking about a goal we have, and then maybe some sort of struggle or problem that we need to solve towards that goal. And then we're all kind of giving each other a chance to mastermind about it to help towards our goals. So we just heard Bearj. Bearj is working on a
Bren,
book.
before you go any further, I want to add one other aspect of a mastermind that's really important for people to understand, because this is something that I think a lot of people either they fear it or they forget about it. And that is the aspect of accountability. That's probably the biggest, strongest, most important aspect of any mastermind, because it's great if you give people suggestions, but if they are not accountable to anyone, then there's not an assurance that they're going to follow through. There's not anyone pushing them, right? So a friend of mine said this the other day on Sunday night. He said, your goals, the things that you strive towards, the things you want to achieve are what pull you forward. And accountability is what pushes you. That's what's behind you, pushing you the whole time. So he had an experience where he lost his job. He got downsized out of a job. He had 3 kids and a wife and a house to take care of. And he had this goal with his new business. And is this new business going to be successful for him? So he needed the accountability was his wife and 3 kids in the family. And his goal was his business. Well, he had to make it work, and he had that pushing him and the business pulling him. So there's accountability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to state right now what my goal is, and I want you guys to keep me accountable. My goal is to write 750 to 1,000 words average a day. So, if I miss, if I miss a day, I need to do about 1,500 words at least to keep up. So that's what my goal is. I'm at about 11,000 words right now. So I'm just asking you guys, keep me accountable to that.
You got it. You got it.
Excellent.
It's
well,
on.
I can say for me in my house, I had my family going back. As we talk about goals, it's something that I brought to their attention as goal development and being very deliberate with their goals. And what a lot of people, they lose sight on that is because so many people throughout our lives, or people that we know, or even people in general, what they do is they send these notions of, hey, I got this goal, and then they just start going in all different ways, kind of like the neutrons that go through our brain, just in different ways, but instead of honing in on our actual focused goals. And so for my family, I had us all sit down. In fact, I did mine the day before, and I learned this from Warren Buffett. But you basically took 25 of your most absolute you're fanatical about goals, and then you wrote them down. But then out of those, you circled the 7, and your 5. And for me, it was they're connected, if I could say, So that's one of the things that he really honed in on, is making sure that they all have the same a purpose within each other, that they all come in trajectory. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And so I started doing that, and I did that last year. In fact, I did it last year, and I really seen the success out of it because I was very consistent and very diligent with everything that I did. I went all in on everything, and I was able to see very great success. And so for this year, was finishing my book of a year that I've been diligently working at. But what's so twisted for me at finishing my book is my book went from writing about my life, my experiences, and the things that I had gone through as a abused individual, a statistic, as you might say, in this world, and it totally went off into a self-help book. More designated towards.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some key points in there that revolve around my time in life, but for an advocate reader, for an individual that's a bibliophile, they'll definitely see some actual learning points in there. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a unique book that gets the reader involved. Like, you got to learn from this. If you just read it to read it, then you're just reading to read, and there's no purpose there. But if you're reading to actually grab something from the book and apply it to your life, then you're going to see it. You're definitely going to really convey the truth out of there, grab it and lock it in and keep going forward. But I had my family do this. I had my family sit down. They wrote all their 25 goals, and they had to circle the ones that, so I went through them. I analyzed them all up, and so I had to send them back. Here, this is not working, because they all have to convey with each other. They all have to be locked in. Somewhere or another, they have to come into the same channel, kind of like a river that goes to the ocean. They have somehow or another, it's got to get there. So, and I don't want to be the ship, but I want to be the ocean. So I make sure that I put that into my kids, because it's like I express to everybody, it's not what I leave them, it's what I leave in them.
Yeah, you got it. Beautiful.
Absolutely, man. My goal right now is to create another book. The title is Mind Your Own Business, or Do You Mind? And it's going to be more of a professional development book to help people in the business realm to better their business. And so that's going to be my biggest goal this year. And I like what Anthony had to say. If I write a chapter, every single day, I'll have 365 pages. At this point, we're at 360, 2 days. So, I mean, I'll get started on that. You know what I'm saying? I love that, though.
Just write a shorter book.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's why I'm taking this all in. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the candy store, man. I'm robbing the candy store.
You know what? I have three big ones in terms of my own personal goals. I'm working on a digital online course called Body 2.0. It's actually completely finished, the book. I got to film the videos on how to help people upgrade their body using mental, emotional, spiritual techniques, not just the physical act of exercise, but the act of how to really integrate the mind, body, and soul. So all of you moving forward. So I basically teach everything I teach in terms of my coaching, from spiritual practices to emotional practice, peak performance practices, and obviously exercise component, diet components. And that's the first thing. And then my second book, which I finished last year, but I finished, in Bearj, it'll be funny. I went to Experts Academy at Bren Dube's back, was it last year or 2 years ago, whatever, year and a half ago. And I was so inspired by that I wrote my second book in 30 days.
That's awesome.
30 days. I was so inspired. I spent 6 to 7 hours every day just writing. And you get in that state where you're just like on point. It's just, and I finished in less than 30 days. And then I sent it to my editor. He edited it. We met, and it's progressively gotten better. I've added a few things. I wasn't fully satisfied with it, and then I kept adding it, but I'm getting it published this year as well. And then those are my two biggest ones. And then to establish myself online a bit more. And I know you, Bren, have really encouraged me to do that, to establish myself online more and to get, reach the globe with more reach. So yeah, those two big things.
How do you plan to establish yourself online?
You know what? Using the techniques, I learned at Experts Academy, getting on Facebook a bit more, shooting videos more, establishing a bigger email list. There's a couple courses I took by Jimmy Kim. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, about how to increase your email list and send out emails and all these things, these little components, the technical side of things. I have the content. It's not the problem. It's the idea of the technicality of how to really establish yourself as an online teacher, entrepreneur. I'm actually in the early stages of that. I'm a rookie at that. But I know this year, 2017 is a big year for me. I really believe that, and learning the technical side of things. I'm actually going to California in a couple of weeks for a conference called Magnetize Your Audience by Callan Rush. She's going to teach a 3-day course on how to really market your workshops and market yourself as an online entrepreneur and all these other things. So I'm doing all the things that are necessary to move forward. I think what the biggest thing that keeps me from moving forward, and I'm sure you guys can kind of coach me on this, and hopefully, I'll get a lot from you guys. I'm sure I will. Is fear? Is the fear? I'm sure you guys have experienced the fear of feeling like, okay, who are you? Who are you to do this, right? Like, you ever feel that? It's like, who am I to kind of partner with, like, the Tony Robbinses of the world, the Zig Ziglars, the Jim Rohns, right? All those guys. And I get in that state, and it kind of paralyzes me for a second. I know how to get myself out, but then there's a part of me that, during meditation or whatever, I get myself out. I'm interested. What do you guys personally do to get yourself out of fear? And
I'm going to pass it right back to you, okay? I'm going to get right back to you what you just gave me a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I've already done some of the online course, so I know how to set it up. I know how to do all the little different things that are necessary to create a nice looking online course. So I can help you with that at any time.
Fantastic.
As far as getting presence, I'm working on that myself right now, getting more presence online. I was just telling Frank and Bren before we started, that in the last 2.5 weeks, I've added 1,000 people to my Facebook fan page.
Wow.
And I've added 300 since yesterday morning.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a technique behind all that. It's the simple way to put it is, you want to build a fan base first, and you want to put content up at least 4 times a day. You want to connect with on that fan page, right through that fan page, you want to do a video each day or every other day or something like that, where you're just doing the Facebook Live videos.
Yeah.
And share that to other groups, to other places. I even do things where I'll tell people, hey, if you share this, I'll send you a free book, and not, one of the people who shared it, if you share it, you'll be entered to win a free book. One person will win it, and people start sharing it. And I'm finally starting to get people jumping on my streams, commenting while I'm on there.
Wow. Okay.
Little by little starting to happen. And then when you have that fan base on your page, then you start marketing to them, because they've already raised their hand and said, I'm interested in you.
Okay.
So, for example, a lot of people run Facebook ads, just put ads out there, and they're going out to everybody, but they've never said they're interested.
Yeah.
So these people have already raised their hand and said, yeah, I've got a little bit of interest in what Anthony Cheam does. It sounds fascinating to me. And then you start sending things out to them. You can get them into your funnel for free things. You've got plenty of content, like you said, and then you can capture their email and put them into some type of email campaign.
Yeah.
Or you can also market directly to them and offer them, you do the value videos, and then they can just go right into that too, right through Facebook. I've done all that. And the last part is, how do you hold yourself up with those people who are in your mind up here, right? So I had a really interesting thing happen a few weeks ago. I was in Los Angeles for an event that James Malinchak was running. James Malinchak is a master marketer. I want to tell you one thing that I learned from him that is invaluable. He said, I want you to stop thinking like a speaker. You're not a speaker. You're a marketer. Think like a marketer.
Okay.
Because you could be the best speaker in the world, but if no one knows about you, who cares?
Yeah.
Have you ever been any place, Anthony and Frank and Bren, where you've seen someone doing what you do, getting highly paid for it, and you're better?
Yeah.
They're better at marketing. That's all it is. They can market themselves better, which is what made me say, I need to get my book.
Yeah.
I need to get that book, because that book is part of marketing yourself.
Yeah.
So at this event, I saw this guy. I saw in the materials that this guy, Jesse Dobeck, was going to be speaking at. Do you know who Jesse is?
Yes, I'm familiar.
So I'll tell you who I didn't know who Jesse was. We were connected on Facebook because I think there was some group we were in, or some podcast we were both on a few weeks separated from each other, and we connected on Facebook and spoke a couple of times through Facebook. So I knew who he was. I knew of him. And when I saw that he was speaking, I was like, who's this guy? I didn't remember. I was like, okay, we're connected on Facebook, and those things came back to me. So when I got there, the day before he was speaking, he was the last speaker at the event. The day before, he got there early, and he wasn't like the rest of the speakers who kind of appeared magically from behind the curtain and left, and that was the end of them. He was there. He was hanging out in the back because no one really knows who Jesse is. I shouldn't say no one, but no one there really knew who he was. I recognized him, so I walked up to him and I said, "Hi, Jesse," and I put my hand out, and he said, "You look familiar." And I looked familiar because we had conversed on Facebook. So I told him why, and he said, and we started talking. And I knew at that point he told me he was there to talk about social media. I didn't even know what he did. He was there to talk about social media and Facebook, and we spoke a few more times. He gets up on stage. Guess whose social media he does? Brendan Burchard's.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
He took him from below. I think when Brendan hired him, Brendan had less than 1 million fans. He took him to 1 million, to 2 million, and just recently to 5 million fans.
Okay.
So before Jesse went on stage, he said, in fact, here it is. He said, "Here's my business card. That's my cell phone number."
Wow.
I've spoken to Jesse 3 times on the phone, messaged with him a couple of times. I got his course. He's helping me with things. That's why over the past 3 weeks, I've put 1,000 more people into my fan page. And in the last 2 days, I put another 300 into my fan page. And it's it's just going to keep growing because of that. So my point at all that is I didn't know who he was before. So I didn't have this feeling like this guy's up on a pedestal. I was just talking to this guy who was going to speak at an event. I've spoken at events. It was no big deal to me. And that entire event, everyone was very down to earth. Not only did I meet the guy who does social media for Brendan Burchard, but you know the book, The Millionaire Messenger?
Sure.
I met the guy who published it. I'm sitting at lunch. The guy sat down next to me. We started talking. "Hey, my name's Jim. My name's Bearj." We just started talking. And eventually he tells me, "Oh, yeah, I'm a publisher." "Oh, what have you published?" "Well, you know the book, The Millionaire Messenger?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I published that."
Oh, wow.
Then I met this other guy. He's hopefully going to Sunday be on my live stream. You ever heard of this story? There's a video on YouTube of this basketball coach and his manager, and the kid who managed the basketball team is autistic. And he managed the team for however many years. His senior year, the last game, the coach said, "You're dressing for the game."
Huh.
So the kid dressed for the game.
Yeah.
And the kid didn't know it. No one knew it. The last 2 minutes of the game, the coach put him in.
Huh.
He scored 22 points.
Awesome.
Now they're talking about possibly making a movie out of this. And so I met this guy. I didn't know who he was. We're in line for lunch. He starts talking to me. I started talking to him. I told him I used to be a teacher. He said he used to be a basketball coach. And he tells me about his student. I had never heard the story before. And I've had autistic students that I taught. I talked to him about the kids that I taught and the relationship I had with them. We bonded. And the next day they bring him up on stage. I'm like, "What? I didn't know that." It's the kind of thing when if you didn't know that about the person, you wouldn't think about it. So in my mind, I don't care, because guess what? They don't know about me. Think about the people who I just talked about at the grocery store yesterday. To them, I was a big deal. I'm not a big deal. Like I said, I'm just glad I remember to put on deodorant and take a shower before I leave the house. And guess what? Everyone else is pretty much the same way.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Bearj. I really do appreciate that, man.
So any help you need with this stuff, man, I've got a decent handle on how to get started in the direction to go for it.
I will follow up on that for sure, man. Thank you very much.
Anthony, going back to your initial question about fear, I ultimately would say, for me, my wife asked me, here's an example, but my wife, I got to talk to a renowned, real top, I'm talking real top coach this morning. And she knows after I got off the phone, she says, "You sounded a little fearful." I said, "Because I'm talking to one of the best. Like, this is one of the coaches that Tony Robbins goes to. I talked to that guy."
Yeah.
So I mean, he's like at the stage of like, Mr. Bob Proctor, and so I said, was I a little scared? There was a slight intimidation. The only reason is because this man's way up there, and is Coach Sagasta looking to be there? Absolutely, I'm striving at. And so when you talk about that fear, you could absolutely that can definitely be subsided by your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius said, we are what we think about every day. You know what I'm saying? So after I started engaging more in the conversation, of course, like the ice was absolutely broken. We talked for a while now, and we plan on doing something in LA together, and I can't wait. But like this is what it does, is that fear will sometimes get inside and it will derail you. So if you transfer like all that all your content that if you transfer that in your mind to something positive and really push forward with that, I call it the driving push over perseverance. And so definitely look at that, man. And my number one tool was get in front of the mirror. I'm serious. I would spend time in front of the mirror, and I would talk to myself. And I still do it to this day. Before I get on any stage, I still talk to myself, because no matter how many lives I've done, no matter how many times I've gone behind the camera, I still get nervous. But you know what?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan used to get nervous before he hit the court every single time. And he was the greatest, man. So, there it is there.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that, you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So if you're just
Bren, what's your
tuned
deal?
on to the show- What's that, Bearj?
What's your deal? What's your goal?
Me?
Yeah.
My goal.
Yeah, we're all masterminding. Everyone participates in this.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe it's to get another nose ring. I don't know.
Yeah, it's to actually 3. I want one right here.
Got to even things out.
One right here.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, my goal right now is to, this show that is actually one of my goals this year, is I want to consistently run the show 5 days a week. I want to book a ton of guests. I want this to be mostly interviews with other people. So I have a few guests right now who I have on my mind who I really want to book. But I guess this is my first week doing this on my own. So as you guys know, we were doing the Leading Life podcast before this, and a lot of that was my brother helping out. But I'm kind of taking it all over myself now. So I have to learn all the technical side. So that's part of what I want to do. But my real goal this year is to like, which one? There's so many goals. One of my goals is to every month release a new book.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask it this way.
Yeah.
What's the one goal that if you accomplish that will make all the other things you want to do either easier or unnecessary?
Well, in that case, Bearj, I really need to make more income. That's my main thing right now, because where I'm at is I've got all these big goals, these big visions, these big plans, and where I find out where I hit the roadblock most of the time is in finances. If I could make more finances, I could get my goals on track quicker. I could get these books. I could do more marketing. I could afford to pay for more ads for my Facebook page that I'm trying to grow and stuff like that. So my number one goal right now is in finances, and what I'm doing to get there, what I'm doing to make more money, is I really want to make money online. So I'm writing a book every month for the next 12 months. And those are I'm writing like short ebooks. It's called the Mastery series. There's going to be a different book every month on a different area of your life that you can master. So that's something that I'm focused on big time. I'm also releasing a record and another book. So really I'm releasing a chain of products and also services, so that I can make more money online, so I could generate an income online. That's where I'm at right now. Yeah. So I guess my challenge, in a lot of this has maybe been fear is a part of it. But we already touched on fear, and I kind of get how to get over the fear of it. But I think a big part for me is just developing the consistency that is necessary in order to achieve these kind of goals, because I find I'll be working really hard at it for a few days, and then I'll have a couple days where I just do nothing, or even a couple weeks where I just do nothing. So trying to develop the consistency and the routine of okay, I'm writing every day at this time, I'm waking up at the same time every day, just developing basically a success routine, because I feel right now I've got all these goals and I'm scattered all over the place, and so it kind of starts to show, I think, in my finances and in my results in life. If I'm not following a consistent schedule, then I'm not going to get consistent results. That's kind of my thought process right now. Do you guys have anything?
So
Go ahead, Frank.
okay, so going back to what I was talking about earlier, if you guys remember, and for our viewers that were listening, is Warren Buffett made a definite design, and it was so easy. I said I implemented it last year, and I'm doing it again this year. Is taking all, because you just said it yourself, like you're basically running on all different ways, trying to do this, trying to finish this, trying to finish that. Well, if you would stop, take a time out, blow the whistle, take a time out, write them down, and literally pick out the 5 and focus on those 5 right there and put all your effort, everything into that, and you're driving to that. Because I promise you, all the other ones will fall in line later. But the most, what is really obsessed, what are you obsessed with? It has to be out of those 5. Because it's that question, that question you have to ask yourself, that I had to ask myself is, why not now? If not now, when? Kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Those are the 2 questions I had to ask myself when I wrote those out. Like, why am I not doing this? And then I had to go and start doing it. And then so for me, it was writing down the 25 of 2015, making the promise, because that was one of the things that Coach Morgan told me about this morning. He says, I'm proud of you, because a lot of people don't understand that portion is making that absolute promise internally to yourself as well as outwardly, and writing them down, and then staying very adamant and very persistent on those 5. And I've done that. And so now for this year, I've added to that 5. So, I mean, I'll give you the best advice, man, is write them down and put them different places. For me, I had one right before my bed, and I had one on the refrigerator. So every time I went to bed, I seen my goals. And then when I went to the refrigerator, before I could even eat, I seen my goals. And then I put them in my wallet. So I had them in 3 just strategic locations where I have to go. It's not like, putting them in front of the TV, because I don't watch TV, or I could have put them on my library, and it could have been on my library and I would have seen them every single day. But I put them right where they mattered the most for me.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share with you something that I learned back in December when I went to that event? And it's transformational. It's funny. I went to this to kind of explain what this was about. I went to this event that it's called Big Money Speaker. Teaches you how to monetize your speaking business, get paid more for your speaking gigs, get more speaking gigs, et cetera, et cetera. They also gave us the opportunity to get our picture taken with Jack Canfield, with Brian Tracy, and among other people. I went there for that. I went there for the pictures. I wasn't sure what the rest of it was going to be like, but I went there for the pictures because I know it's very important to position yourself with people like that. But I learned several things, and this is one of the powerful things. There are probably 5 really powerful things I learned. This is one of the most powerful things, Bren, and I want to share this with you because I think it can make an impact and really help you to declutter your mind and declutter your life and declutter your goals. Because many times we have so many goals, we have so much we want to achieve that we don't achieve anything. We're trying to do too many things at one time. And this cleared it up. And the whole room of 250 people went, oh, that's incredible. And it's so simplistic. This is it. It's called the 12-3-1 method for goal setting. That's all it is. You can remember those numbers. It's really easy to remember. And here's what you do. You write down the first 12 goals that you have. Just list them down, the 12 major goals. If it's not 12, it's okay, but 12 is a good number. Out of those 12, list the 3 most important ones you have. What are the 3 that are really, really important? The most important 3 of those goals that you've got to take care of. Then from those 3, pick 1. What's the one you've got to get done out of those 3 that you have to get done first? So what you've done is you've set yourself up. If this were January 1st, that one thing would be what you did in January. Then you'd have 2 things left, and you figure out what the next important thing is. You do that in February, and the third one in March. Then you take the remaining 9 and go through the same process again. Mm-hmm. And that's all you do. You simplify things and get all the other stuff out of the way. So I didn't even have to do all this. I went, book. I knew right away. Number 1 was book. I knew it. And number 2 is social media. So fortunately, those two things, I don't have to spend all day doing social media. I take a little bit of time here and there when my mind is frozen from writing. I'll watch one of the videos from the course I got, and then I'll do a little bit of the social media stuff, and I go back to the book. But this is huge. This is the thing I believe that is the $1 million thing that I learned. It's the lifesaver. It's the thing that has taken stress out of my life. It's helped me to organize because I'm that guy who likes to do everything. I think I can do it all, and I pile up too many things. We talked about it earlier today, Bren. Pile up too many things to do in one day, and then I'm pissed at myself because I didn't achieve them, and I think I'm worthless and I'm a piece of crap. When the reality is I made too big a pile. That's my only downfall. It's just the pile I made. This is the way to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've heard you talk about that before in one of our podcast episodes together. So I'm kind of familiar with that, but I didn't take action on it, But I definitely do feel, like you said, like I'm all over the place. I've been doing a lot of decluttering, actually. I've been trimming down my goals. But I think I've trimmed them down to like too many super important goals. So now instead of having a bunch of goals that aren't important and then a couple that are important, I have only those few important goals. And then I'm trying to focus on all of those at the same time.
Right.
So I totally get where you're coming from, to like focus on the one thing and go for that. Definitely. Yeah. Well, should we wrap it up? We've been going hard. The one thing.
The one thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's wrap it up. So if you guys are just tuning in, or if you guys didn't know what we were up to this whole episode, we're basically talking about each other's goals and helping mastermind on those goals, applying accountability, applying, coaching, all these different things that we know and that we could use to help each other. That's what we did here today. All of us are working on books. So that's super cool that we all had a chance to talk about book writing and the different things that go into writing a successful book and getting that done. So I was pumped about that. Do you guys have any other like highlights or last words you want to say?
So I think next week what we need to do is start off with accountability.
Yeah, follow up for sure.
Right? So we got to follow up with everybody, and everyone's got to say, this is the thing, that I did. This is what I've accomplished in the last week. Or you know what? I didn't do what I need to do. And everyone's got to get on them. So you said you want to do that. Bearj, you said you're going to write 750 to 1,000 words a day. You said that's your goal. Why aren't you doing that thing that you said is your goal? You said you needed to do this because of these reasons. Why aren't you doing it? That's what accountability is all about. Everyone always has to wear the big boy pants, and you gotta be ready to take it, give it, and come through for yourself and come through for each other. That's what it's all about. Pulling and the pushing.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what? We used to use that term actually in football. The push and pull is a technique. But also, I'm gonna say, you know what? No excuses. Don't make any excuses for yourself in your goal planning. And as Bearj said, have accountability and surround yourself around people that can definitely hold you accountable.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is the Motivation Mastermind, talking about goals, masterminding and stuff, living amazing life, being awesome. So we'll see you guys next week on the next Motivational Mastermind, every Friday, live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and Periscope. Let's see your peace sign, guys. See your peace sign. Bearj's guys, peace sign. Peace sign.
Peace out.